I've got my art and arcana, and I'm ready to talk about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm here to talk to you about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is coming to theaters on March 31st, 2023. It is a new Dungeons and Dragons based movie. It's not the first Dungeons and Dragons based movie. That Honor, I guess, belongs to the not good 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie. So the 2000 movie was not good. Does this movie redeem one of the oldest and most beloved gaming franchises? Yes, it does. My hot take is, look, I definitely think you should watch it. It is just a great D&D movie, and also really just a great movie. It has a basis of D&D, but it doesn't really kind of drive that in. You just have like some places from D&D, but in the end, it is just a fun quest with plenty of action and heart and a really great cast. And what I also love is, like, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, specifically Forgotten Realms, you'll get hints here and there. The monsters will be familiar, the classes will be familiar. But if you're not a Dungeons and Dragons fan, if you've never played the game, and there's probably a lot of you, you can still really enjoy this movie. You don't need a basis in Dungeons and Dragons to really understand anything that's going on, as long as you have like a basic understanding of fantasy concepts. So, and if you have kids and you're wondering if this movie is okay for kids, it's so. Like, nothing is too bad. It's rated PG-13. I think that is a solid rating. It's probably between a PG and a PG-13. It has some scary moments, some violence. There's some fighting. There is like a beheading. There's no gore, but there is like a beheading that happens. There is some violence from like war. Like it's not too bad, but there is definitely something that littler kids should not see. And there is some like dread moments with like the undead and things that happen. So it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit violent. It has a few moments of crude humor. So I would say it's between a PG and a PG-13, maybe more on the PG-13 side if your kids are going to check it out. So I'm going to tell you a little more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. I will keep it vague up until that point. You can watch it without worry, but when I get to the ending, there will be spoilers. I'll let you know before that happens, though. So in Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, you have two main characters. You have Edgin and Holga. They are in a prison in Icewind Dale. You don't know where that is. It's just a very cold place. You can imagine a place called Icewind Dale. They break out in order to, I guess, reunite Edgin with his daughter, Kira, who was kind of taken from him a while ago. It wasn't actually taken. Like, she was being watched by one of his friends when he went to prison. He wants to be reunited with her. He wants to kind of like make his family again. So they break out, but that leads to a series of new discoveries and new challenges that will put Edgin, Holga, and a few other friends against some very dark forces. So things I loved about this movie. The first, I love the cast. The cast is fantastic, and specifically Chris Pine. Chris Pine really kind of makes this movie. He is Edgin. He is a bard, but it's really just, he is kind of the glue that holds everything together. He's funny. He kind of hits the right notes. He has the nice kind of balance between like humor and heart that I really love about this movie, and he just keeps the story going and keeps everything really entertaining. It's his Chris Pine way of like delivering lines and like interjecting little like funny asides here and there that really make this movie so much fun. And he is joined by just a phenomenal surrounding cast. Hugh Grant was awesome in this movie. He was just a really fun, like, greedy character. Justice Smith was really good. Actually, all the main characters are really good. Michelle Rodriguez did a really good job as Holga. It was kind of a really great role for her to kind of be like the strong character in the party, which I really like. And Regé-Jean Page was fantastic as the Paladin Zank. And Sophia Lillis as Doric was another fun addition. Like, she is a very different character from everyone else, and her abilities and kind of her style round out this overall party. So look, I love the cast. I love the characters. It's a great kind of core for this movie. And the second thing, you kind of already talked about it, I love the humor. This is a very funny movie. Like, not just nerd humor, although there is some nerd humor. Like, it is just funny all around. Even from the start, when you hear their backstory and the things that Chris Pine says to like interject into while they're talking about their backstory, it is just, it sets the tone right from the start that this is going to be kind of a funny adventure, and it keeps that going throughout. Kind of related to that, the third thing I love is, look, it's fun. Like, it is a fun movie. It is a fun action adventure kind of movie that has the right balance of, action and heart and humor to kind of keep it going. I was never bored in this film. And it's not crazy long. It's about a little over 2 hours, so definitely takes up some time. But I loved it throughout, and part of it was just because I was just smiling the whole time. The fourth thing I loved is the story. Like, this is a D&D kind of adventure story. It definitely feels like a quest you could take up. there are a lot of twists that happen, and it kind of keeps everything fresh. It seems like once their plan is starting to go their way, something changes and they have to pivot. And so it just kind of keeps everything moving. At first, I thought this was going to be kind of a smaller scale adventure, like essentially set in one place, but it doesn't travel around a lot, but you get to see a lot of aspects of this place because of all the things that happen. And the last thing I really love is, look, it's D&D, and it definitely has references for people that are interested in D&D, both the monsters that you encounter, the classes, some of the mechanics are in there, not a ton, which makes sense. It's a movie, you don't really need to know much about the mechanics of D&D, but a little bit is in there, and the places, specifically the Forgotten Realms places, are in the movie also. So if you have a background in D&D, specifically in Forgotten Realms, you'll at least get some fun references here and there. So things I didn't love as much, and there will be minor spoilers in this part. So you can watch it. I don't think you have to worry too much, but if you don't want to know anything at all about the movie, I would turn it off here. So things I didn't love as much. The first, there's just some convenient story moments that happen. And again, this is exceedingly minor. It didn't really bug me, but it was something that I was like, oh, okay, that seems a little too convenient. But it did keep the story moving along. There would be parts where like, oh my gosh, like how do we get past this? And then randomly, oh, this thing I picked up earlier, I thought was something, oh, now I recognize that it is this other device that will help us here. Or, like, oh, we need to find this artifact. And someone's like, oh, I know where that artifact is. Like, it is just very, very convenient at times. And it's, again, not a big deal. It's fine. It keeps the story moving along, but just something to kind of like something that kind of like felt off to me. And the second thing I didn't love, and again, this is very minor, there's no Dro. During the quest, they actually go into the Underdark, and I was really excited to see their take on Dro. I wanted them to kind of like come out and see what this movie version of the Dro would look like, and see some of the cities and things like that I love reading about and love kind of looking at the pictures of. Unfortunately, they weren't in there, even though they did go into the Underdark. But look, I understand why. That might have been too much addition and too much extra like exposition for this film, but it did make me like disappointed in the Underdark scene. So that being said, D&D Honor Among Thieves is fantastic. You should definitely check it out. It is just a really fun adventure. It is a fun D&D movie. It's just a fun movie. So I definitely think you should check it out when it comes to theaters on March 31st, 2023. I'm going to go into the ending now, so there will be spoilers. If you don't want to know what happens in this film, turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So, like I said, the main quest, you've got Edgin and Holga, who are breaking out of their jail in Icewind Dale. Edgin wants to go back to see Kira. Now, he is in this conundrum because years earlier, about 2 years earlier, him, Holga, their friend, a wizard named Simon, a kind of con man named Forge, and a better wizard named Sophia all tried to break into this vault to get some gold, but specifically for Edgin. He wanted this artifact that would allow you to bring one person back from the dead. And he was hoping to bring back his wife, who had died earlier. His wife, his daughter Kira's mother. He wanted to bring her back. So he agreed to this quest, even though it wasn't a good idea, because he really wanted that artifact. Unfortunately, it didn't go well for him. Edgin and Holga were captured, and they were sent to this prison in Icewind Dale. So when they break out, he goes to find Kira. His friend, who was also on the quest, Forge, said he would take care of Kira. We find out that Forge has now become, I forget what the whatever the leader is, regent maybe of Neverwinter, this large town, this large area in the Forgotten Realms. So he's kind of a big deal. And when they get there, he seems excited initially, but he double crosses Edgin and Holga. We find out that he set them up earlier to get caught, and that he used that heist to get the gold and to help out this wizard Sophia in his plan to eventually, I guess, become the leader of, or the regent, whatever you want to call it, of Neverwinter. He also uses this opportunity to kind of like turn Kira against Edgin by saying that like the only reason they went on this quest was for gold, and that Edgin was just greedy and whatnot. Kira, as a kid, she's been raised for the last couple of years by Forge, so she believes him, unfortunately, for Edgin and Holga. Now, it wouldn't be much of a D&D adventure if they just like got taken away. So they are able to escape from the guards, and they have to now assemble a team to break Kira out of Neverwinter. So they get their old friend Simon, who is still kind of a bumbling wizard, and they get someone that Simon had known before, tried to date before, this druid named Doric, and they all come together to try to break out Kira. Now, they're going to break Kira out during this big gladiator event, and they also want to get into Forge's vault to be able to get this artifact that Edgin really wants. Unfortunately, the vault has a magic seal, a very powerful magic seal, and so they need this artifact that will disable all magic. And you think, okay, that's a really interesting artifact. It has this very specific name. And this is when one of those convenient story moments happened. Well, Holga apparently had her tribe that she was from had fought and gotten that helmet, or at least fought for that helmet years ago. And so she might know where it was. Now, unfortunately, most of the people had died there, but thankfully, Simon has an artifact that can revive corpses for 5 questions. And so they use this artifact to figure out what was going on. It is actually a very, very funny scene because when the corpses come up, they ask some really ridiculous questions, and there's a nice banter between like the party and the corpses. So they find out where this helmet is. They go to the Underdark with the help of this paladin Zenk to get this helmet, and they finally are able to get this helmet. But unfortunately for them, Simon can't use it. He is not a great sorcerer. He is a minor sorcerer, and so he's not able to attune to this helmet, and so he can't actually use the helmet. They come up with an alternate plan, and eventually they come up with a few plans to get in the vault. It's all very fun. It's all very kind of, I don't know, not Ocean's 11-esque, but there are essentially like 3 different plots to get into this vault, because they go one route and then Simon tries to use the helmet again to get into the vault, and then Chris Pine and Holga try a different route. So together they are able to get into the vault, but what you find out is that the vault, the magic vault that was being kind of watched for these games, is empty. There's nothing in there. One of them, Doric, was able to use this portal spell to get into the vault, and when she's in there, she realizes that their vault is actually under the Colosseum where the games are taking place, by the dock, and all the treasure that Forge had accumulated and that was being used for gambling in the games was being loaded onto a ship. Like, that's weird. And that's when everyone gets captured. Now, unfortunately for them, Forge has been working with Sophia, who is a member of the Red Wizards. She turns out to be one of these bad wizards that also was involved in killing Edgin's wife years and years ago. So Forge had been working with her. He'd been working with her during that first heist, and that was why it went south. That's why Edgin and Holga got captured. And then Forge kind of used his connection with her to become the regent leader of Neverwinter, and is now piecing out with the money and leave the city to Sophia. And you don't know why, so they're leaving it to Sophia, but it's probably not a good thing. Unfortunately for Edgin and the party, they are now in these gladiator games, and they are very, very dangerous. But through their cunning and luck, and mostly luck, they are able to escape from the gladiator games, get to the treasure vault. They're able to kind of like hijack the ship that Forge is going to use, and they're sailing off with the treasure. Edgin has his tablet that is going to then like revive his dead wife. Everything seems great, right? Unfortunately, then we find out the like Red Wizard's true plan, and there's been hints throughout, so it wasn't like a huge surprise. But the Red Wizard, what they want to do is they're using this artifact that they took from that original vault. It's this like red dragon horn looking thing. They use that to summon this like cloud of red mist that will turn the mortal people it touches into undead soldiers. And the Red Wizards, I guess, had done this before, and now they're going to do it again to raise an army of the undead. Probably to try to take over the Forgotten Realms, definitely for bad things, and definitely bad for all the people that are in the Colosseum. So when our friends realize this, they're like, okay, this can't stand. We got to stop them. So they turn the ship around, head back, and now they have to take out the Red Wizard. But the first thing they have to do is figure out, how do we get these people out of the Colosseum? So what they do is they use this like portal wand to make all the coins drop outside the Colosseum. It's actually very clever. There's these like blimps or like airships that are advertising the games, and they put one portal at the bottom of the boat where all the treasure is, and one portal like in the ship, and so all the treasure just kind of like spills out outside the Colosseum. Everyone in the Colosseum runs out. The Red Wizard's plan is foiled, but she is still a very, very powerful wizard. After her plan is foiled, she attacks the party, as you would imagine, because she's very angry. and they have this really epic fight. It's a really well done fight, and it's fun to see like all the different party members use their skills to fight this. So Holga obviously is using her strength to fight. Simon at this point has become a relatively good wizard. He is at least relatively competent, so he is now finally competent enough to take on this red wizard, and they use their magic. Doric is a druid. She can shapeshift, and she, turns into various animals to attack. And Edgin is, well, he's charismatic, and he has a lute, so he hits her a couple times with a lute. So this long, exciting fight that finally ends when the red wizard uses this spell, the spell that she had used before to when they originally got captured in that very first heist. She creates like a time bubble where no one can move outside of it. And what happened in the first quest, in the very start, the very first like vault quest, she used that presumably to stop the guards who were going to try to capture the party, but it had captured Edgin and Holga. You thought it was an accident. It wasn't. It was actually by design. But now she uses it again. Unfortunately for our friends, it seems like they are still not powerful enough to stop it. So the bubble expands. Everyone stops. Sophia is walking up to Edgin, ready to, take him out. But then he starts moving. And you're like, what's going on? And Simon's like, I countered the spell. But their whole plan was they were going to pretend like it worked to put Sophia's guard down. And while they were all frozen, Kira, Edgin's daughter, who has this like amulet of invisibility, slips on a like magic suppressing bracelet on Sophia. So now she can no longer use her magic. They are all moving, and then now they really beat up on her. Again, it's a fun like combination of all their special powers. They beat her up in heroic fashion. She is no longer in the picture, and everything is good, right? Well, unfortunately, Holga was injured in the fight. And it's like a poison blade. There's no way to fix it. So Holga unfortunately dies. And this is not good for Edgin, because she's like, one of his best friends. But it's really not good for Kira, because when Edgin's wife died, Holga stepped in randomly just because, she needed a place to stay and she liked Kira and helped raise her. And so like as she's dying, you see all these memories of Kira and Holga throughout the years, like as she's like raising her, being kind of a motherly figure to her after she had just lost her mother. Now, Edgin sees this, sees his friend dying, especially sees Kira, how upset she is, and he decides to use the tablet to revive Holga. And so originally he was using the tablet to bring his wife back. He'd always told himself it was for his daughter, to make sure that they were a family again, but it seems like it was probably more for him than for her. She didn't really know her when she was growing up, and she had like she never knew her, so having her mother back would have been great, but it wasn't something that was like missing. But now with Holga dying, that was like something in her life that was now missing. So Edgin uses the tablet for his daughter's benefit, brings Holga back. So everything's good. Everyone survived, kind of, but I mean, who hasn't completed a D&D quest where someone died, you had to revive them? It just happens in this world. So everyone is happy, everyone's surviving, and you also find out that Forge is now in the same prison that Holga and Edgin were before. So it all works out. That is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. There is also a stinger during the credits. You should definitely watch it. It is a fantastic stinger. It involves the corpses that were raised earlier. There's a funny scene involving them during the credits, and definitely check it out. It's in theaters on March 31st, 2023. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.